Good morning. Welcome to Chaikin PowerFeed, your daily market digest. Today is Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. I'm your host, Dan Russo, Chief Market Strategist at Chaikin Analytics. You can check me out on Twitter at DanRusso_CMT. PowerFeed TV brought to you today and every day by Chaikin Analytics in conjunction with StockCharts.com and StockCharts TV. Sign up to receive Chaikin PowerFeed for free at www.chaikinanalytics.com/PowerFeed TV. So U.S. equities were mostly higher in Tuesday's trading, but small caps staged a big reversal near the highs. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Telecoms, energy, and materials outperformed, while REITs and consumer discretionary were the biggest laggards. Treasuries were narrowly mixed, with the curve kind of flattening a little bit. The dollar was little changed to weaker on the major crosses. Gold finished roughly flat. WTI crude added 90 basis points. That helped the energy complex. Breadth on the New York Stock Exchange was negative 1.2 to 1. Breadth on the NASDAQ, a negative 2.3 to 1 as we get to the desk this morning. Futures in the U.S. are, relatively flat, pointing to a flat open. Asia was mixed overnight, but China lagged. European equities are mixed. Treasuries mostly firmer, with the curve doing a little bit of flattening, and the dollar is little changed on the major crosses. So diving right in. We are trading above that 2,800 level now at 2,820, but kind of a worrisome candle here if you're a candlestick person. With the doji at the recent highs. Support does come into play at 2,800, then 2,771 and 2,741. 200-day moving average down there around 2,689, 2,690. Resistance, as we said, at 2,840. That's that unfilled gap lower in January. RSI continues to bother me, not getting overbought. We gapped up yesterday, and the RSI, while it did move higher, could not achieve an overbought condition. Chaikin money flow indicator is bullish. That's fine, but I want to see momentum confirm the strength that we're seeing. And I'm not overly worried about it. I want to see it. I want to see a breakout confirmed by momentum. That would give me a lot of conviction that the uptrend was in fact resuming. So we're going to keep an eye on that. There's really nothing we can do about it other than watch. Our view remains the same for the S&P 500. Consolidation within the context of a secular uptrend that is likely to resolve itself to the upside. Your market in a minute, as we said, small cap stocks stage a key reversal near the highs. Seasonality is actually bearish for the IWM over the next 3 weeks, and we're going to take a look at that. S&P 500, as we said, continues to grind higher, but it's bothering me that we're not getting a momentum confirmation. Sentiment indicators, neither too fearful nor too greedy. Every Wednesday in my note to Chaikin Analytics clients, I look at sentiment, try to get a gauge for if it's at an extreme level one way or the other. The answer is no, not an extreme reading one way or the other. Hard to take a contrarian view based on sentiment. And as we said earlier, futures do point to a flat open. Looking at the major indexes from a power bar perspective, remember the power bar tells us how many stocks in the index or in an ETF have very bullish or bullish ratings, how many have neutral ratings in the yellow, and how many have bearish or very bearish ratings. And for the first time in a while, we've seen the Dow skew to the positive side, 7-4, as industrials have staged a counter trend rally. S&P 500 moved to the bullish side this week as well, 88-79. NASDAQ remains about 2 to 1 to the bulls, but the real story in my mind, and remember on Monday we said, while small caps remain an outperformer, we are not chasing them here. Small caps, in our view, were overbought, and based on our work within Chaikin Analytics, they were overbought. We said we're not chasing them here. Small caps down over 1% yesterday, and we've seen some real deterioration in the power bar. This metric has been consistently over 500, in the mid 500s for bullish and very bullish stocks over the past couple of months. Dips down now, 485 bullish or very bullish stocks, 276 bearish or very bearish stocks. Again, we're not super concerned about it, but we did say we weren't chasing here. We're going to watch how this plays out for the time being. Bonds uptick slightly. Materials, big outperformer yesterday, up over 1.3%. But look at that power bar. 2 bulls, 7 bears. Not really getting involved just yet. According to the Chaikin Power Bar, small cap stocks and large cap stocks are somewhat bullish, and the major indexes are mixed. There's your choppy trade. Our stock of the day today, every day as a PowerFeed subscriber, In your morning email, we'll give you a stock of the day based on the Power Gauge rating, and today's stock of the day is Tri-State Holdings. Comes from the strong banks and thrift sector. You've heard me say it here a couple weeks ago before I went away. We were talking about financials potentially putting in a bottom and how I like the regional banks. Look at what this stock has done. TSC has a very bullish Power Gauge rating, closed at 29.80 yesterday, up 1.2% to outperform. Power Gauge rating is very bullish due to the very strong earnings performance, very strong price volume activity, and positive expert activity. We could see here, ribbon at the bottom of the screen tells us where that Power Gauge has been for the past 12 months, and we're been predominantly bullish since the April timeframe. Stock is currently middle of the range based on our overbought, oversold indicator. It has been an outperformer since March, so the market is in agreement with our model. But interestingly, money flow has been strong. Obviously spikes higher with this big run post the earnings print. Actually did get a relative strength buy signal right in front of the earnings print. Stock moving higher. We like the regional banks. This was one within that group, and it's had a strong move higher. Do we chase it here? Probably not. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a pullback. Maybe try to look at it again when the indicator is in an oversold condition. As long as everything else squares up, very bullish stock. Strong trend in a strong industry, then we'll take a look at it here. But this parabolic move here, I want to see a little bit of a consolidation before I chase, but it is being added to a bullish watch list as soon as this call is over. Our sector tracker, sector movement over the last 5 days, financials have been strong. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Potential for a bottom here, a near-term bottom in financials. Mark Chaikin pointed it out in his weekly note to Chaikin Analytics subscribers. I've been pounding the table of late on the regional banks. If you followed me on Twitter, I've been about it there. In my notes to Chaikin Analytics members, I've been talking about it there. Financials up nearly 2% over the last 5 days. Industrials, I think this move is counter trend. We'll take a look and see how that plays out. Although what I will say is, as we go through earnings season, the issue with trade and tariffs that have really weighed on the industrials kind of being moved to the back burner in investors' minds, not the news media, investors, because investors are so focused on earnings at this stage of the game. Technology, number 3 spot, we talked about its importance, 26% of the S&P 500. Real estate and utilities, the bond proxies, moving to the bottom of the list as yields move back towards 3%. I had been open to the idea of real estate and utilities bottoming relative to the S&P 500. That bottoming process looks like it's going to take more time. Could still be in play. Haven't broken down from the consolidation yet, but they haven't broken out either. That call and how it plays out remains to be seen. Our industry in focus today is capital market services, and we can see the power bars here are skewed to the negative side. 6 bullish or very bullish stocks, 8 bearish or very bearish stocks, and over the past 6 months, this subsector has outperformed the S&P 500 by 32 basis points. So call it an inline performer to slight outperformer. However, the power bar ratio, which measures future potential, is weak. It's ranked number 16 of the 21 subsectors that we look at. It has moved up 1 slot over the past week, but some of the indicative names there are Wisdom Tree, Market Access, and Schwab. So the way I kind of see this is, an inline performer with the potential to be a little weak. If you own these names and you've had a good run in them, maybe you want to think about getting them out of the portfolio, selling some winners. These stocks have done well. If you are inclined to open positions on the short side, I think you do have to be a little bit selective in terms of a tactical standpoint when you get involved, because Wisdom Tree and Market Access are still outperforming relative to the SPY, but Schwab is not. Schwab is actually a name that I highlighted a couple of weeks ago for Chaikin Analytics clients as a potential short idea, and it's working against me here a little bit, but it does still have a very bearish power gauge rating. It's got a weak trend in a strong industry, but this does look like it's rolling over, but let's walk through the process. Power gauge rating has been very bearish since June. Stock has been underperforming the market since June as well, and it is doing so. The intensity of it is getting strong. Stock's currently overbought based on our overbought, oversold indicator, and Chaikin money flow has been bearish since the beginning of June. Stock looks like it's rolling over below a declining long-term trend line, so it's kind of consolidating this gap up from earnings. The way I look at this, the way I frame this up, if you want to trade this to the short side, I think you probably have $2 risk for $4 reward in the near term here. I think if you can open a short position under 56 half and play for $48, our lower volatility band, I think that does look compelling. If that doesn't set up for you in your process, then, add it to a bearish watch list. And when it does become more compelling, you can then pull the trigger. But deeply overbought with this intense bearish money flow, I do think it looks compelling for a trade to the downside. Keep an eye on Schwab. Our trending stocks yesterday's movers and shakers in the S&P 500, all earnings related. AVY up 11%. Harley Davidson, HOG, I love the ingenuity in the ticker symbols, up over 7.5%. Lilly and Bristol Myers up 5% and a little over 4% respectively. IQV, the one you want to look at, a very bullish stock, rallied 6%. Keep an eye on that one. NKTR, I feel like this stock has been on both sides of this list over the past month. Obviously, a lot of volatility in that. Biotech, Hasbro giving a little back after the strong pop on earnings on Monday. Centene's been a very bullish stock in a massive uptrend. I highlighted this stock to Chaikin Analytics subscribers when it was sub 120. Comes in 4.5% to 130 today. Maybe giving you an opportunity to look at. But Whirlpool is a name that I have had and been highlighting to the downside for our clients for a while here. And on the earnings yesterday, gaps lower by 14.5%. Probably wouldn't open a short here. Probably need some time to consolidate. But if it does become overbought again, we have to do the work and see if it makes sense to reopen. Whirlpool, big loser yesterday. Now, as I said, the Russell 2000 stages a key reversal. And you can see it here on the chart, this big candle where we tried to push up near the highs to reverse and close lower and engulf about 4 days of trading. We are still above the 50 and 200-day moving averages, which are rising, so that's fine. We're not overly concerned yet. But to me, this is a sit up and take warning type of candle when you see this type of activity. RSI also has a negative divergence here. You can see that with each push to these highs near, call it 169, 170, we've gotten lower highs in the RSI. Remains in bullish ranges. So as I said, not overly concerned just yet, but something we are keeping an eye on, especially too, Chaikin money flow is waning. We're not chasing here. We said it on Monday. We're reiterating that call today. Not chasing the Russell here. And we've been big bulls on small caps over large caps. I just think it needs some time to consolidate here. And here's another reason why. This is IWM seasonality. This goes back to 2009, and it's the weekly seasonality for the Russell 2000 ETF, right? So our proxy for the Russell 2000 index. And here's this week, right? So traditionally a negative week, and we're actually underperforming that. Next week and the next 3 weeks really are all bearish weeks on data going back to 2009. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Again, we don't want to chase here. Is seasonality a reason to do something? Absolutely not, but it should be in your mind. It should be part of your process. It's part of the mosaic that you put together when formulating your investment strategy. If you're putting money to work right now, you have to understand that the IWM just put in a big bearish candle during its seasonally weakest part of the year. So just be aware of that. As I said earlier, sentiment not at extremes yet. This is a 13-period moving average of the CBOE put-call ratio, currently at 0.95. Readings over 0.9 are generally associated with positive 6-month returns of about 5.5% on average, with a 70% hit rate. Over 1.1 is generally capitulation to the downside. I call this kind of a neutral to slightly nervous reading for this indicator right now, but not really tipping its hand one way or the other in terms of taking a contrarian position one way or the other. Healthcare moves to the top of the list on the power bars. Utilities drop to number 2. Fins and technology round out the top 4. Real estate, you can see it there dropping towards the bottom. Consumer staples have been a perennial loser. Energy actually moving up a couple of slots. Remember, yesterday we talked about energy. It was our deep dive sector for Chaikin Analytics subscribers, where we said we're seeing some movement to the upside. Saw a big move higher, about 1% in oil yesterday. That helped the energy stocks. So you can get powerful, profitable stock ideas and more if you sign up for PowerFeed for free at www.chaikinanalytics.com/PowerFeed TV. Thank you to Stock Charts and Stock Charts TV for hosting. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Wednesday.